Welcome to Developing the Leader Within podcast, the podcast that brings you leadership insights from the brightest minds shaping our world. Join us as we dive into conversation with trailblazers, innovators, and change makers, spanning every corner of the globe. Get ready to explore new perspectives, gain actionable insights, and become the leader the world needs today. Unleash your potential. Tune into Developing the Leader Within podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Let's embark on this transformative journey together. Developing the Leader Within podcast, leading beyond limits.
Welcome back, everyone. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right now, as it'll help us getting our show to others and help us get to our next milestone. Make sure to catch us streaming live on Parade Deck, on Roku and Amazon Fire TV, on the Purpose Place Network, and catch our exclusive members-only content going deeper within on the Lions Guide Academy. Today, we are speaking with Jose Angel Pereira Ruimwyk. Jose is a leadership coach and motivational speaker. He helps C-suite and entrepreneurs connect success and fulfillment. He is the author of From Hero to Villain and is the former Citgo Petroleum CEO, as well as a 5-year international hostage survivor. Jose, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Enrique.
Well, we are glad to have you and interested on this great conversation we'll have around leading under fire, resilience, pressure, and the cost of command. And Jose, I was just mentioning to you that a lot of people don't realize that there is a cost to command or leadership. But before we get into that conversations, tell us a little bit about you.
I did my career in the oil and gas, and you can say that you think that you have leadership skills being there. Of course, you have leadership skills. But my real leadership skills were tested when I went through my hostage situation. And this is something that today I talk, because leadership is something that you say it, okay, there is a leader. But really a leader is tested when you push from your comfort zone, or something is going wrong, or your floor is moving around, or everything is shaking. There's where you're going to be tested if you're a real leader or not. That's what happened to me. That we went through this hostage situation, and we were 6 guys, because our case was really particular. We were 6 guys that were taken hostage. We stayed 1 year isolated, but the second year, during our 5 years, we stayed together. So really, we had to lead all this situation, because we were in a very confined place, 6 guys. You can go crazy if you don't know how to handle the thing. So today, this is something that I combine, and that's why I'm a leadership resilience coach.
Well, we appreciate not only your story and what you are doing today, but that you actually survived that captivity and are out here telling the story. So that's a blessing. Thank God for that. And we talk about resilience in leadership. Can you share a moment in your leadership journey where everything seemed to be working against you, and what helped you stay resilient and move forward through that adversity?
Well, the most dramatic event in my life was what happened to us. And picture this. 1 minute before, I was a successful guy leading an oil and gas company. I was getting retired. So that moment, because for your audience that doesn't have the context, we were here in Houston. We received a call to do a meeting in Venezuela. I flew the other day to Venezuela, and day after, I was in front of a crowd of 1,000 people in a meeting room making a presentation. And was my final presentation, because I was getting retired. So now I was like having a standing ovation. I was feeling proud that I was closing my career. And 1 minute after, it came a bunch of guards and took me and accused me to be an American spy. And I went to my hostage situation during 5 years. So that is the most dramatic thing that you can imagine, because in one moment you lose everything. That's why my book is called From Hero to Villain, because I was 1 minute before a hero, and a minute after I was one of the worst villains. If you go back to the news of the time, that was in 2017, you Google the news, you will see that the dictator of Venezuela in national TV announcing that he captured 6 American spies. So we became the hostage of the president of the country. So we lost everything. We lost our freedom. We lost our ability to do nothing, and we lost the connection with our family. So we really were tested. And I'm not going to say it was easy, but for reason of God, not only me, my 5 colleagues, we all rise. And I always say that we could unleash that unbreakable spirit of leadership that you have inside. And we made it. We made it. We created a survival plan, and we just stick to it the next years, and we came back after 5 years.
And that is so impactful. Just hearing you talk about a moment like that, leaders will undoubtedly not experience that on any time soon, but they do and can relate to the highs and lows, right? The 1 minute you're a hero, and the next minute you may be walking out of your company with a box because something went wrong and
Yes.
you had to pay for it, right? In one way or another. The impact to yourself as individuals, these 6 individuals, but your families
Oh,
and
yeah.
the rest of the colleagues in the company, and all of that for years. This wasn't like a couple of days. This is years, and you had to come up with a way to become resilient. And so I congratulate all of you for coming together and being able to do that. Now, that was a pressure moment without a doubt. And a lot of leaders find themselves in moments of pressure, and at the highest levels often face scrutiny, isolation, and weighty decisions. So, how do you navigate the unique pressures that come with being the one everyone looks to in moments of crisis?
Because when you're in a leadership position, you have to be taking all day long decisions. But one of the things that you have to take in consideration is that when you're having a tough moment, the first thing that you have to do is be calm. Be calm. Be calm. It's very easy to say, but you have to be calm. The great leaders are those that have the ability to stay calm under the pressure and get focused. Because sometimes when you're going to a situation that that you think that you cannot handle, you lose the focus. And when you lose the focus, you're done. Because keeping the focus will keep your mind clear. And even if it's a dark moment in your business, maybe something is going really wrong. Maybe it's going really wrong. But when you are focused, even if you're going in that situation, you can think with clarity, because it's a matter of mindset. It's really a matter of mindset. So doing this thing, the stay calm, be focused, having a mindset that keeps you clear, and understanding the process where you're going, that makes you make better decisions. Because the great leaders are those that can be adapted to the situation. So The adaptability is a great skill. No, not all the leaders have that skill, the adaptability. So the leaders that success are those that have the ability to adapt to the situation. In our case, because this is something that I talk in my speech, I mentioned it, that we were all the time going through ups and downs. If I tell you my story, we can stay hours here talking about it. In my book, I mentioned a fraction of it, of the thing that really we went through. And that was like a roller coaster of emotion. But we always were trying to stay calm. Really, and we really did it. I'm not saying that we didn't have our moments of being down, because this is another thing. A leader, you mentioned that sometimes you're isolated, and this is a great mistake. A leader had to get connected with the people that surround it. If you're in a leadership position, if you have a team, well, you have to be supported with your team. In our case, we were 6 guys, and we really created a strong bond of support. Even we have a strong commitment that if for some reason one of the 6 were down, immediately the other came to support them. So we never let nobody to be down. Another thing was be open discussing the things. We were, imagine 6 guys living in a closet during years. The probability to have issues is really high. So we always were, if something is going wrong, raise your hand and talk about it and move on. So we never let neither the arguments or discussions or whatever, nothing that, I'm not going to say that could not have been some moment, but if you see the trend in 5 years, my friend, we did it great. We did it great. So if you try to mirror that to a leadership position, it's the same. Because now sometimes you are in the leadership position and you isolate you so much that at some point you're alone, taking decisions alone. A leader has to be surrounded with the people, because with that connection, it's like you can make the things better, and you can make better decisions, and having the ability to be adaptive also makes you that you can navigate the situation. So when you make all these things together, you combine it, that is what makes a leader to be successful.
And you mentioned the ability to stay calm even in a situation which is chaotic, right? You
I believe one of the most important things is have clarity and be calm. It's difficult, but believe me, that the great leader, you can see that trend that always they try to be calm, even in the worst situation.
Yeah, and so let's talk about balancing, power that comes with the leadership and the peace and the calmness that we talk about. With great responsibility often comes great personal sacrifice. And so how do you maintain a healthy balance between meeting organizational demands and protecting your own mental and emotional health?
That's very important. By the way, this book that you see here is the book that I use in my coaching program, and there is a sentence that says, "I'm your connection between your professional success and your personal fulfillment." Because to tell you the truth, Enrique, that was one of my biggest mistakes when I was in my previous life. I always did this career, always thinking to climb the corporate ladder, push into corporate ladder, and at some point I abandoned my family. And this, believe me, this was something that I reflected a lot during my captivity. I was reflecting, and it came, the movie of your life. And you begin to say why you did this, why when your wife was calling you, you never attended, why you always were saying that you don't have time. And now you're here begging for a 1-minute call. So when you begin to thinking all of that, when I came back, I said, this is something that I'm gonna explain to the people that are gonna be coaching. That the balance between your success in your business and your life is key. So you always need to have that balance, because that's what really is going to make you be successful. Because if you're a leader that only are successful in your career, but you have your life totally messed up, you know, you're in your business, you're here, the you know, the super guy, then you go to your house and you have your house a total disaster. So you're not being successful. You really are successful when you have both the combination. And again, the great leaders, that's what they do. They try to have a balance, maintain a balance between their life and their business. And that is key. I'm not gonna say it is easy, but it can be done.
Yeah, definitely. And most of us that have been in business or in corporate any good amount of time have come to realize that there are a lot of things that we did that that we never should have, because at the end it was not that important.
Yeah, yeah.
And the sacrifice and the pain is usually felt by the family, the
Oh
immediate
yes.
family, right? And
Yeah.
it's so important to understand that when you're removed from what you think is important, you come to realize that the true important things you left by the wayside, right? And so
Well, that was my lesson. Let me tell you, when I was in my captivity, I always was thinking in that. All the time all my life that I did to my company, now we're there, alone, left behind, and the only that was fighting hard for me was my family. So that wife that I had abandoned, it became my only support. And let me tell you, I saw that trend a lot, because unfortunately, when I was in my captivity, I was with a lot of political prisoners of Venezuela. So I had the opportunity to meet most of them. These people are high-stake people, you know, because they are there because they are against the government. And almost all of them had that situation, that they had abandoned their family and now they have their wife taking care of them, visiting them every week. I didn't have that fortune because my family was here in the US. So I didn't have that. Some of the guys that had their family in Venezuela, every week they were visiting them, you know. So they were like there every day. So that's where you really realize that the importance of the family, or your circle of support. And today, because another thing that I'm going to mention to your audience, during all those years of my captivity, who was providing me food and medicine was my son. My son had to move to Colombia, and from Colombia, he began to provide me food to Venezuela during 4 years. My eldest son. He came back now, and I always tell them, "Hey, Papi, I don't know how I survived because of you. It was my son." So and you can uh, realize that when you have your family, your circle of support, in any moment of crisis, that's gonna be the people who are gonna be with you.
and such a tough lesson to learn.
Oh yeah,
And
in
I
the hard
hope that,
way.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I hope that those that are listening, leaders, and not, and maybe if you're not a leader, you still have to come to the realization that it is not those in that workspace, it is not those that surround you in your corporate settings that when you hit rock bottom are going to be there. It's those that are in your household right now, and I would beg that you consider how much weight and how much time you're investing in them, because when it comes to the hard times, those are the ones that show up. So
I can tell you, Rick, I'm not here in the woo mode. Everything I talking here is because I experienced it. So the people that are hearing me here, you don't have to go through this process. So because the good thing is that you can learn, you can retrain your behavior, because sometimes the people have some behavior because it's a pattern they have always had that. But the good thing is that you can retrain yourself, your brain, your the way you behave, but you have to have the real intention to change. That's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Now there's a let's talk about the cost of high stakes leadership, because you were at the top. You know, this was a high stakes situation for you, but most people that won't ever find themselves in that situation have a different version of that, right? Have you ever reached the point where the weight of leadership felt overwhelming? And what did you learn about yourself in those moments, and how did you recover or adjust?
Well, I'm going to say something here. I'm a man of faith, and I was not a man of faith. Today I'm a man of faith because I learned the lesson. But I learned that that God, when you are going through some situation, sometimes He intervenes, and sometimes He abducts you. He extracts you to avoid that something happen. Sometimes He has to intervene when the thing is already done. So you're in the hole, and He gives you the hands and grabs you out. In my case, I believe that God was like abducting me, because the situation that I was having was so stressful that if this situation doesn't happen to me, maybe I could have died. I was having a lot of issues. And even though during my captivity, I went through a lot of situations. I suffered a heart attack. I had COVID 2 times. I suffered scabies. I suffered pneumonia, bronchitis. So I went through a lot of things that technically I should not be here. But I'm not only here today, all those illnesses were today are gone, because I begin to really think in my balance in my life, and God now literally restored me. I feel blessed that I have been restored. And so again, you don't have to go through that extreme situation, but sometimes people doesn't have the balance in their life, and then their mental and their physical health are in jeopardy because of that.
Yeah, and cost comes in different ways for leaders.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is the health, and we see that most often come up,
Mhm.
right? You're overstressed, you're anxious, you're overweight, you're overburdened. There's just a over.
I had all those checkboxes. I can tell you, I had all those checkboxes.
And you're not the only one. I'm sure I have suffered some of those. There are those listening that are currently going through some of that. And when we say you don't have to, you have to come to the knowledge of it before it ever happens. But if you are in that situation where you are going through this over period, hey, take a pause. Take a pause. You can dictate a pause in your life and say, hold on, I need a break. Let me handle this, and so I can come back stronger. Or let me take care of this so that I could be a better benefit to you, the company, the office, whatever it may be.
If something happened to you, believe me, somebody's going to come and replace you, and that's it.
Yes, indeed. I've seen it, and I've seen it happen to others, and I've seen it happen to me. So that is a fact. Now, when we talk about sustainable leadership, in your experience, what practices or mindsets have helped you build long term resilience without burning out or losing sight of your personal values and well being?
Well, there is something that is going to be for me the icing of the cake. That is cultivating your spirituality. For me, has been a blessing. That, as I said, I was not a man of faith. I came back to God during my captivity. When I came back, Enrique, the first thing that I did, I always recall that my daughter-in-law invited me to go to her church that she was attending. And I went to that church that today I'm very proud to be part of that church and be serving in my church and attending several ministries. Um, and that for me was not only the reconnection with God, the really understanding the real purpose that you need to have in your life. So when you say that you have to take a pause, when you connect with that spirituality, that God will talk to you and will say, hey, my friend, slow down. Or maybe this is not your path. You have to go this way. So you can see things that maybe you were not seeing in the past. It happened to me, Enrique. For me, it has been a revelation. And I'm going to be honest, I'm sometimes every day I'm surprised how much I have been discovering the things that I did wrong, the things that I have to correct, and the things that today I have learned through my process. So the reconnection with the spirituality or the connection to the spirituality, I think is key in any leader. Any leader that really wants to be successful has to connect with God or whoever they believe. But in my case, I'm a God believer. Is that connection with God because that is what gonna keep you, connected, not only grounded, connected to to the superior entity that will guide you, that will give you wisdom, that will give you the path that you have to follow. And even you can find things in your life. I know people that have, in my case, I decided to pivot completely my career when I discovered that this is what I want to do. This is what I really wanted to do. So all my 30 plus year career in the oil and gas, for me, is something of the past. So I really enjoy what I'm doing today. And I understood that for some reason, God wanted me to do this.
They're very powerful. I often tell leaders that faith is a component of leadership.
Has to be.
What
Has to be.
and whether you realize it or not, it may not be a religious version of faith, but you have faith in people showing up on time.
Yeah.
You have faith in resources being there for you to be able to do your job. These are not things that you control. You allow others to do, and you expect it to be there so that you could do your job. And that is putting a level of faith in others. Now, I much rather put my faith in the Almighty, right? And then have everybody else kind of come together and fill and complete the mission. But you may not choose that way, and that's fine, but you still operate with faith in some capacity.
But let me tell you something. That even that you don't have to be in the religious path, but there is something that is like it is because you work hard, you do things, and you plan things, but really who multiplies the things is God. So that the real root of the abundance comes from Him, not from us. So this is something that for me was one of my revelation that in the past I thought that everything that was going in my life was because of me. That I was the super guy, that I was because of me. And one day everything was gone. So it was not because of me. It was because of Him. And now I'm clear that anything in my life is because of Him. So you don't have to be a priest, you don't have to be a pastor, but you need to have faith in something. You get connected to something. And a leader, and you said it, you have to have faith in your people, you have to have faith that things are gonna go okay. So the faith is a key component of the leadership.
Yeah, it definitely has made the difference in my life. Right, I am a minister and pastor, so it just happens to
Okay,
me.
okay.
It happens to me together, but
I'm not a pastor,
yeah,
but I'm really blessed for my church, my pastor. all the blessings and all the learnings that I have got now are those tools that now you understand better the processes.
Absolutely. Now, Jose, thank you so much for taking the time to help us explore what resilience looks like from your perspective, something that I hope that no one else listening would ever have to go through. But we never know, because some industries do take us abroad and into unfamiliar countries and customs. And sometimes the jeopardy of something like that happening may be there. So I pray over everyone that is
And
traveling.
let me say something before we finish. You said something very key, because today I'm a strong advocate for the Jose community, that I'm part of that community. And believe me, I came 2 weeks ago from Washington. We have a meeting every year called the Hostage Awareness Week, where we gather with all the people that have gone through this situation worldwide. And you cannot imagine the stories that you hear. People being working abroad, going to a meeting, going to a conference, attending a family visit, get caught in this and stay years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. So this is something that can happen to anybody. So the people that are hearing this, I don't want to scare people, but the people really have to understand that when you travel abroad, always there is a risk.
Yes, absolutely. As a Navy man going around the world, I fully understand that those risks are there. We're trained and we are briefed on every port, right? Every port that we go to, every country we visit, there's always an element of risk there, just because that's how things are in this world. But my prayer is with everyone that does travel abroad if you're a leader. But Jose, thank you so much for spending this time with me and covering this topic. What do you have coming up, and where can the viewer or the listener follow you or support you?
Well, my webpage is joseconnect.com. I'm speaking. I've been in a journey speaking to college and universities and doing conference. So anybody that really wants to be in contact with me, you go to my webpage. You will see my speaking there. You can connect through there, or you can connect through LinkedIn or Facebook. That I have my account too. I do make my coaching. As I said, I have this coaching program that I do for C-suites. Also, in my webpage too, you can find it. If these resonate to you, just book a call and we have the conversation. And if you have any event, just contact me.
Absolutely. Now, folks, we will have all the links and places to meet and connect with Jose on the show notes and the video so that you can do so. I want to remind everybody that today's episode is sponsored by the Global Trends Magazine, the Outlier Project, Fantail Services, Southern Sweet and Sassy Coffee, Ascend Meditations, and Chop AI. And if you've enjoyed this episode and learned something interesting about the topic covered today, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and let us know by leaving a comment. Tune in next week for another episode where we dissect leadership from another angle. And as we like to end the show, success to you.
Thank you.